What if I told you that you've been playing Shade wrong this entire time? This video features the best tips and tricks to help you play the spookiest brawler of them all, Shade. Alright, so to start off this guy, the first thing I do want to talk about is gonna be his two traits that he has. Shade's first trait is a 6-tile circle around it. All enemy brawlers within this circle charge Shade's super by 6.75% per second each, or over 15 seconds for one enemy. It also charges Shade's super faster if there are multiple enemies inside the radius. Its super still charges even with invisible or bush camping enemies. Shade's second trait allows it to be able to move on water. Now for Shade, I recommend playing it on game modes and maps that have a lot of walls and bushes. Clearly you want to take advantage of Shade's trait to just camp behind walls to easily charge your super. Shade is technically an assassin, so you don't want to be really playing it on more opened up maps. Take advantage of obstacles and bushes to get closer to your targets. Now just like I said in the description, you can use the charging circle to scout bushes. Just like other assassins like Buzz and Cordelius, you want to use your trait as a way to scout bushes. It's a great way to spot enemies camping, waiting to surprise you, just to give you a warning before entering a nearby bush. Now something that I also said in the description is that it's important to have as much enemies standing inside of your trait as possible. Since you can increase your supercharge rate the more enemies that are standing inside your trait's radius, then that will only help you charge up and cycle your supers even faster. So lane multiple brawlers or just stand in a spot where multiple targets are inside of your charging circle. Now going along with Shade's second trait is that it can move over water, so take advantage of that. Shade is unique since it also has the trait to walk on water as well, so use the water around the map to get across choke points or get to the game mode's objective faster to give your team the upper hand. Brawl Stars has been going nuts about releasing back-to-back brawlers that can walk over water, but okay, now that we got the traits out of the way, let's go to talk about Shade's main attack, Haunted Hug. Shade swings its arms, hugging enemies in a wide 150-degree arc, including enemies behind walls. The attack takes time to wind up at 0.35 seconds. However, Shade isn't immobile while attacking, and there isn't any travel time, so the attack instantly takes effect after the delay. In addition, if the enemies are in the center of Shade's attacks, it doubles the amount of damage it does. Now I recommend as much as possible you are always trying to hit the enemies at the center of your hugs. This is critical to dealing the most amount of damage possible to defeating your target. Of course, you want to be doubling your damage with every attack, so make that your goal whenever you are in a fight. Now if you want to be hitting more enemies with the center of your hugs, be manually aiming your attacks, never auto aim. Auto aiming will be good enough to hit the enemies with your wide main attack spread, but if you want to defeat the enemies as quickly as you can, you need to be manually aiming your shots. Don't ever rely on auto aim with a brawler like Shade, especially with the slight attack delay it has. Now speaking of the slight attack delay that Shade has, beware of that. Shade is a brawler like Ash and Frank that has a slight attack delay before they actually attack. This can cause you to miss your shots sometimes, or might cost you in an engagement since your burst speed is slightly slower than most brawlers. So this is another reason why you need to be aiming your shots to increase your chances of connecting onto your target. Now when engaging with multiple enemies, try and attack enemies when they're all grouped up together. With the 150-degree attack spread of Shade's main attack, you can easily hit and team wipe multiple targets. If you see an opportunity where the enemies are all grouped up together, take advantage of that situation and just go ham onto them for some easy kills. Now what I personally love about Shade's main attack is that you don't have to be perfect with it all the time. Another reason why Shade will be beloved and worshipped by lower skilled players is because it is fairly easy to play. Its attack radius is so wide that even noobs won't have a problem missing their shots. If your teammate is playing Shade and they can't even hit their shots, oh my god, good luck with that. Now as far as targeting down the enemies, target down brawlers that are squishy and can't out DPS you. Just like with every other assassin in the game, you need to go and assassinate enemies that have low amounts of health or can't burst you down from a close range. Target brawlers such as throwers, marksmen, or even support brawlers, since those brawlers typically won't have a lot of health nor be able to burst you down before you can get them down first. But okay, that's gonna be it for Shade's main attack. Let's go and talk about its super in corporeal form. Shade's super is a short dash, which then allows it to pass through enemies and obstacles for 6 seconds. In addition, it gets a 30% movement movement speed boost for the duration of the super. After 6 seconds, Shade transforms back to its normal form. If Shade uses another super during its alternate form, then the duration of the super will refresh and the speed buff will stack. And I recommend using your super when you need to play aggressively into the enemies. Since Shade won't be stopped by anything during its super, that is the perfect opportunity to charge straight towards the enemies and make a play. Target down enemies that are weak or low on health before your super's duration is done. Now what's great about using Shade's super is you can use it to escape through walls. If you are low on health, you can activate your super and run straight through walls or obstacles to help protect you from the enemy's projectiles. The enemies will think they got you down, but the environment around you will be shooting you while you make your escape. Now personally, one of my favorite things about Shade's super is using that short dash to your advantage. I love treating that short dash kinda like a max phase shifter gadget. You can dash forwards to give yourself a bit of a push, and that can help you in multiple different situations. You can use this mechanic to help you dodge incoming projectiles, you can use it to get closer to the enemies, or you can even use it to get away from the enemies to help you survive. Now what's great about Shade's super, besides going through walls and all that kind of stuff, you get an additional movement speed increase. Since you gain an additional 30% increase in your movement speed, this can be used to help you close down the distance between the enemies or help you run away when you are low. In whatever situation you are in, just use that movement speed buff to help you make a play. Now I also recommend you're trying to cycle up and chain your supers since the speed buffs will stack with each other. This will probably be harder to do as you rank up since enemies usually won't be that dense to stack up and give you that additional value, but this is something that's good to know if it ever does happen. Stacking the speed buffs together will only make Shade scarier to face and much harder to take down. Now just like with Shade's main attack, use his super to target down low health brawlers that can't burst you down. Understanding when to use your super and who to use it onto is something that a lot of amateur players still don't get. Kinda like what I explained earlier, you want to go after brawlers that don't have a lot of health, nor can they deal a lot of damage from a close range. This will give you the best chances possible to win the engagement and escape alive. Now an amateur mistake I see with a lot of Shade players is that they don't save their ammo before using their super. Even though Shade has a very fast reload speed, you need to remember that it also has a slight attack delay. When going aggro with your super, make sure you have ammo so you can burst down the enemy. Don't be going in when you have no ammo, because then you'll just be making yourself an easy target for the enemies. But okay, that's gonna be for Shade's super. Let's go to talk about its gadgets, but the first one I want to talk about is long arms. Upon activation, Shade's next attack range is increased by 1.67 tiles. Now I recommend running this gadget when you're facing enemies that can outrange you. Gaining that increase in your attack range by 1.67 tiles might help you hit an enemy that you usually wouldn't be able to hit without this gadget. Just the pressure of activating the gadget might force the enemies to play slightly more passive, which of course is a good thing for you. Now I personally love using this gadget to hit enemies that are all grouped up together. Since long arms will increase the range of your next main attack, it will technically be increasing the overall size of it as well. This can be useful when spotting a group of enemies together and just make it even easier to hit all of them at once. Now you can even use this gadget when you are camping behind a wall. If Shade already wasn't annoying enough when camping behind a wall, this gadget will make it 10 times more annoying. The increased range will be able to hit enemies that are standing farther back behind the wall, making it harder for them to heal up or gain any type of pressure up the map. Now let's say you're facing an enemy that is slightly out of your attack range and trying to escape you, go ahead and use this gadget so you can hit them once again. When chasing down an enemy, it can be hard to catch up to them sometimes, especially with the slight attack delay that Shade has. All you gotta do is just activate your gadget and then use the increased range to hit the enemy for that confirmed kill. But okay, that's gonna be for Shade's first gadget. Let's go and talk about its second gadget, Jump Scare. Shade creates a 3.33 tile radius of ghosts around it that slows enemies by 20% for the next 4 seconds. Now I recommend using this gadget in situations where you're facing more aggro brawlers. This gadget can be useful when playing against tanks and other assassins since they might be able to burst you down at a close range. Using this gadget can slow them down and give you a bit more time to react and digest the situation to decide what you want to do next. Now I recommend using this gadget in combination with Shade's super. I would suggest activating your gadget before or even after you use your super. For example, you can activate the gadget and then use your super to escape aggro brawlers. Or you can even use your super and then use your gadget to slow down the enemy to make it more difficult for them to escape your attack range. Now, while you slow down the enemies with the jump scare gadget, you can use that opportunity to escape any dangerous situations. Kind of like what I just talked about, you can use this gadget to slow down the enemy and buy yourself time to escape if you are low on health. Whether that means using your super after you use your gadget or just running away if you don't have your super charge, it can come in clutch to staying alive. But okay, that's gonna be it for Shade's gadgets. Let's go and talk about its star powers, but the first one I want to talk about is Spooky Speedster. When Shade hits an enemy in the center of its hugs, it gains a 15% movement speed for the next second. However, the speed buff stacks if Shade hits more enemies in the center. Now, this star power is so rewarding if you are very good at playing Shade and hitting the enemies at the center of its hugs every time. If you are consistently hitting the enemies at the center of your hugs, then this might be the star power for you. Even though the speed buff only lasts for a second, hey, that second might be the difference maker to getting a kill or getting killed. Now, this star power is also very good in general just to help you increase your mobility. With the additional 15% movement speed buff for the next second, that can help you continue the pressure onto the enemies so they don't escape your attack range. This allows you to move around faster to help you dodge incoming attacks from the enemies while you continue the pressure onto them simultaneously. Now, what's great about this star power is it allows you to continuously play more aggressively. When combining this star power with your super, Shade can be absolutely lethal. It already gains a 30% movement speed buff during the duration of its super, plus it'll gain an additional 15% movement speed for each enemy it hits at the center of its hugs. I mean, that is just completely broken and needs a nerf ASAP. But okay, that's gonna be it for its first star power. Let's go and talk about its second star power, Hardened Hoodie. Shade gains a shield that reduces all damage it takes by 30% for the duration of its super. Now, obviously, this star power is going to be great to help you survive when you are in your alternate form. Having the shield when you press the enemies is huge in helping you stay alive and keep your health up. A 30% damage reduction shield is no joke and it helps you steamroll the enemies that much easier. It'll be harder to take you down and just make Shade even stronger than it already is. Now, I would recommend using the star power in situations where you're facing more tankier comps. With how aggressive this meta is with brawlers like Kenji and Daryl running all over the place, this star power will help you survive a bit longer against those types of brawlers. Shade only has 7,000 health as an assassin, so having the damage reduction shield will help it stand its ground a little bit more against the stronger aggro brawlers in the current meta. Now, this star power overall is just going to be generally the safer pick for Shade. Since this star power is consistent and will always give you that 30% damage reduction shield, it is going to be more beneficial overall compared to Spooky Speedster. Having the movement speed increase for 1 second doesn't outweigh the shield that you gain from this star power and how much it helps you win many more engagements throughout the game. But okay, the recommended build I suggest you guys use with Shade is using the long arms gadget, the Hardened Hoodie star power. The first gear I'm going to recommend is going to be the shield gear. As I just stated, with Shade only having 7,000 health, he can really benefit from having the shield gear to help him go aggressive and stay alive. And then finally go and run the gadget charge gear. Since long arms is so beneficial in helping you hit more enemies, then you want to be using this gear to help you gain an additional gadget to use throughout the game. Well, anyway guys, if you guys enjoyed that video, I highly recommend you guys go check out this video right here.